Hi everybody, it's Crystal. So today I have a crochet tutorial for you. I'm going to show you how to make this button-down shirt. It's extremely easy. It's made with 2 panels. I do want to note in the tutorial you will see me, whenever I do the buttonhole row, you will see me make 5 buttonholes. I did not use the 5th, but you can use it if you want, or you can leave it off, or you don't have to put any buttons on it at all. So let me go ahead and show you the construction of it because it's very easy. Remember, you don't have to put buttons on it. You can just leave it as a overshirt, put it over a t-shirt or a tank, or actually you could just seam it up in the front if you wanted, up to here or something, and whatever you want to do. I just give you a little tutorial and then you make it your own. So the 2 panels that I'm referring to is, you see this seam right here, this on the back, you follow that up and it comes around, and this is part of that panel too. There's no seam at the shoulder. It's this one huge long panel that is folded in half, and that is how you get the length. And then there's another one over here. So it's only 2 panels that make it, 2 very long ones. So they're seamed here and not here, and they're folded over. And then they're seamed at the back. And of course I mentioned you can seam the front up if you want part of the way and just make it a pullover shirt. You can add the sleeves like I did, leave them off. You can make them longer, shorter, whatever you want. It's your shirt, remember, you make it how you want, wear it how you want. So highly customizable to your likings. Very, very simple to make. This would be a great beginner clothing piece. I think it's beautiful. Now if you look in the description box, I will have sizes, multiple different sizes. Now those sizes are adjusted to the best of my ability in the amount of yarn, approximated to the best of my ability. So, but when you see those sizes down there, I'll tell you how big the finished project will be, and that is going with the length that I have here. So I'm 5'3", you've seen the length on it on me. So you would have to adjust your starting chain accordingly if you want it longer than mine. And you'll also need more yards than what I say in the description box if you make it quite a bit longer than mine. But of course you can make it really long if you want. I mean, it's up to you, or short, whatever. So let me get this off the desk and we'll go over and talk about what I use. Remember, the buttons are just whatever. You don't have to do those. I like it though. I like it a lot. So the yarn that was used for this particular video is not a yarn that you have to use, or for this particular project is not a yarn that you have to use, but it is the Lanes de Nord Pomme Glitter yarn, color 602. So as you can see, it is a roving style, very, very glittery yarn, and it is approximately a 2-weight yarn, I would say. That would be my guesstimate. But there is a nice, I'll put a gauge swatch, gauging thing in the description box so you can gauge your yarn out to get the correct size. This is actually a wool yarn. It's 95% linen muslin free wool and 5% polyamide. There are 600 meters or 656 yards per ball. Now if you look in the description box, it's going to tell you the amount of yarn and everything for the size that you see there. That size that you see me wearing is going to be the small/medium size. Alright, it's going to give you all the dimensions of that shirt, and then there'll be other sizes as well for you to follow. An amount of yardage that I used for this particular yarn, and like I said, you can use whatever yarn that you choose. And for this particular project, we're going to be using a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. The buttons that I use, in case you're interested, they came from Walmart. They are, where's the size? Well, the size of those will be in the description box. I'll have to look it up. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started on it. All right, let's do it. All right, so the multiple for this stitch is 5 plus 3. So, and remember that you're going to be beginning with a very, very long foundation chain, and it's going to be folded over, and then that's going to be the how long your project is. So for the one that you see me in the picture, that is a starting chain of 223 stitches. Now both panels are made exactly the same, so you'll need to do 2 with that starting chain, unless you want it longer than mine, depending on how tall you are. Remember, I'm 5'3". You can make your chain as long as you want. Remember, it's going to be folded in half in a multiple of 5 plus 3. Now I'm going to show you on a smaller scale though. So once you get your foundation chain done in a multiple of 5 plus 3, or if you like the you know, the size that the length that mine is, 223 is the foundation chain. So the first row is going to be a foundation row. So we're not going to count it as row 1. What we're going to do is do a single crochet into the second stitch from the hook. Remember, we never count the one that's on our hook. So in that second stitch, we're going to single, and then we're going to work across our chain, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until we make it to the end of our foundation row here. All right, 1 single in every stitch, and I'll see you here in just a second. All right, so we made it to the end of our foundation row of single crochet. So now we're going to begin the design of the top. So we're going to start row 1. We are going to chain 1 and turn our work. So that chain 1 does not count as a stitch, or it doesn't count as anything. So we're going to go back into the very first stitch, and we're going to work a double crochet into that very first one, just like that. Now we are going to skip 2 stitches, skip, and the next we are going to do a double crochet V-stitch, or a double V-stitch is what I like to call it. So I'll show you what that is. So we skip 2. Now a double V-stitch, skip, and the next one is where I put 2 double crochets into the same stitch. There's 1 and 2, and then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go back into the same stitch and put 2 more double crochets. So it's 2 doubles, a chain 1, and 2 doubles is the double V-stitch for this pattern. And now we're going to start the repeat of row 1. We're going to skip 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. So skip, and then we're going to double V-stitch into the next. We're going to put 2 double crochets. There's 1, and there is 2, and then we're going to chain 1 and go back into the same stitch and put 2 more double crochets. So that is our double V-stitch, and that ends the repeat for row 2. Row 1, I'm sorry. How easy is that? So we just skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next one we double V-stitch. 2 doubles. There's 1, 2, chain 1, go back into the same stitch and do 2 more doubles. And we repeat it again. Skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next one, after that 4th one that we skipped, we double V. 2 doubles into that same stitch, chain 1, and 2 doubles, just like this. Now we're going to repeat this pattern all the way down our very long chain until we get to the last 3 stitches of our row, and that's where I'll meet back up with you. Alright, so I've made it to the end of row 1, and I have my 3 stitches that remain. I'm just going to skip 2, skip, and then the last one I'm going to end it with a double crochet into the very last stitch. That ends row 1. Now we're going to go ahead and start row 2. Now this is a 2-row repeat, very easy. So rows 2 and 3 are the repeat rows. So we'll go ahead and begin row 2. We are going to chain 1 and turn our work. Again, that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We are going to go ahead and put a single crochet right into the very first stitch. Just like that. Now we're going to start the repeat of row 2. We are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And in the chain 1 space of the next double V-stitch right here, we're going to put a double crochet. Just one. Just like that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to put a single crochet in this spot right here that's between our double V stitches. Just this space. That there's no chain space or anything. I mean, we didn't put no chain in between them. But we're going to go right through that space and put a single crochet. And that is the repeat of row 2. So again, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put a double crochet into the chain 1 space of the next double V-stitch. Just one double. And then we have to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. And then in between the space that's in between the double V-stitches, single crochet right into that space. Just like that. And then we repeat it again. That's the repeat. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet into the chain 1 space of the next double V-stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then into the space that's in between our next 2 double V-stitches, we're going to single crochet, just like that. And we're going to keep repeating this pattern until we get near the end of the row. And this is what it kind of looks like. You can see kind of looks like little baskets, don't it? Like this, the handle. So we just keep repeating that. So again, I'd chain 3 after that single crochet, and I would do a double in the chain 1 space of my next double V-stitch, chain 3, and single crochet in the space between the next double V-stitches. All right, I'm going to keep repeating this, and you keep repeating this until you get to the end of your big long chain, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of row 2. All right, so I'm coming to the end of row 2, and I did a double crochet in the chain space of my last V-stitch. And this is how we're going to end. We're going to chain 3, and then we're going to single crochet into our very last stitch here. And that will end row 2. If I said row 3, I'm sorry, it's row 2. There we go. And that's what it kind of starts to look like. And now we'll go ahead and start row 3, which is the final repeat row. It's just 2. We're going to be repeating rows 2 and 3. So row 3, we are going to start with a chain of 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to turn our work. So that chain 4 is going to count as a triple crochet here and for the rest of the times that we use it. So we are going to put a double V-stitch in every double crochet that we made on the previous row. How easy is that? So we're just going to come straight to the very first double crochet that we see, and we're going to go into the top of it, and we're going to do a double V-stitch. So 2 doubles into it, chain 1, and go back into the same double crochet there and work 2 more doubles. Just like that. And now we're going to find the next double crochet that we did. So we skip all these chain spaces, we skip that single. Here's our next double crochet, so we just jump right over to it and we work a double V-stitch. So we put 2 doubles into the top of that double, and then we chain 1, and then we work 2 more doubles into the same stitch. Easy peasy. Look at that. All right, now we're going to search out our next double. So it's right here. So we skip these chain spaces, that single crochet, and we're just working in the double crochets this time. Go right into it and work a double V-stitch into the top of the double crochet. Sorry, from the previous row. And this is what we're going to do until we get near the end of the row. Again, we find our next double crochet. Right here it is, and we work a double V-stitch into it. We skip all the stitches that's in between it, and we work 2 doubles, chain 2, or chain 1, I'm sorry, and 2 doubles. All right, so this is what I'm going to repeat here for row 3. Working a double V-stitch in each of the double crochets from the previous row. Oops, until we get near till we finish out the last double crochet, and that's where I'll meet back up with you. Isn't that cool? That's so pretty. All right, I'll see you in a second. All right, so I've made it to the end of row 3, and as you can see, I just put a double crochet V-stitch here into my last double crochet of the row. And now what we're going to do is just end the row by putting a triple crochet right down here in this single crochet from the previous row. So we're going to yarn over twice and go into that last stitch and work a triple crochet to end row 3. And that ends the repeat rows. So we just keep repeating rows 2 and 3. How easy is that? And it's so pretty. I love it. I really, really do. This is such an easy pattern and fun and highly customizable to your liking. You can make it as big or small as you like, as long or as short as you like, short sleeves, long sleeves, sew up the front, leave the front open, with or without buttons. I mean, it's really, you could do anything you want with it. So again, that's it. That's the repeat row. So I would just start over and I would repeat row 2, and that's where we chain 1 and turn, single crochet back into the very first stitch, chain 3, this is the chain 3, and double crochet into the chain 1 space of the next double V stitch, and chain 3, and single crochet in between the next 2 double V stitches, just like that. And that's what we would repeat. So that's it. We're going to keep repeating rows 2 and 3. We'll look in the description box and I'll tell you for the size that you're making how wide that you need to make your panels. All right, so always refer to the description box. It should give you all the information on how big you need to make your piece for whatever size you're making. So go ahead and get this done, and then we're gonna sew it all together, put some buttonholes if you want them, add some sleeves, do some finishing touches. Let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, so once you get your panel as many rows as it says in the description box for whatever size that you're making. So I guess I'm making this small, so I have if I count my little double crochet V stitches, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 rows of those, and I ended on a row of double crochet V stitches. So you want to make sure that you end on a row of double crochet V stitches. All right, but yeah, whatever size you're making, you once you get to that size and your final row is a double crochet V stitch row, we're going to go across it and straighten that up with a row of single crochet so we can sew it together So we're just going to chain 1 and turn our work over, and I'll show you where we'll put our single crochets. So the first one's going to go right back into this very first stitch here. And then what we're going to do is we are just going to put a single crochet into every stitch from the previous row, but we're not going to put one in the chain 1 space of the double crochet V. We're just going to skip over that chain space, and we're just going to work in every one of the stitches. Remember, not the chain 1 space. We just skip that, just like this, all the way until the end. So there's my chain 1 space. I'm just going to skip it and jump to the double crochet that's on the other side of it. So pretty easy, this one is. Remember, we want to make both panels the same. So there's my V-stitch. Again, I'm skipping it and just jumping to the next double and single crocheting in it. So I'm going to do this all the way down until I get to the end, and then I'll just tie it off. And then you want to make your other panel exactly the same way as this, and then we can start sewing them together and doing some stuff to make them look like something, hopefully. All right, okay. I'll meet back up with you in just a second, and we will start sewing this up. All right, so once you got your 2 panels made here, so what I've done is, I just folded them in half like this. So the starting chain of each panel, this is the starting chain of this panel, and this is the starting chain of this panel. So we're going to seam it up at the starting chain of each panel. So both pieces are folded in half. And that right here is the single crochet row that we just finished off with. But when you fold them in half, you want to make sure that this is the right side of the shell stitches, I guess. They look pretty similar. And you want to fold it to where the wrong side is facing up. All right, because we're going to seam it up and then we'll flip it right side out. So we get both pieces laid out like that. So the shells on one piece are going to be going this way, and then the shells on this piece are going to be going this way. So let me turn it a bit so you can see. So you see the shells are just going like this at each other, and that's what we want. All right. So I'm going to move this one out of the way because I've already seamed the side up on that one. And so I have my piece here. We're going to mark off some armholes before we seam it together. So make sure it's lined up pretty good at the bottom. Oops. On my papers. Okay. Then I want to flip it. I'm just going to do a little there. I didn't do any. I just flipped it so I could have this. This is the side I'm sewing, so I can have it facing the camera better. Okay. So we need to mark off for some armholes. Okay, so both panels will be done exactly the same. So make sure you got all even down here at the bottom and whatnot, and we'll go ahead and mark off for the sleeves. So everybody's different, or not everybody's, but some of them will have a different number. But I'm doing the small, so make sure you do refer to the description box. Alright, so to mark off for the sleeves, we got our piece all nice and folded there and even at the ends. We're going to use a tape measure, and make sure you look at your size in the description box. It'll either be 7 inches or 8 inches, so mine's going to be 7. So we'll start at the top here and go down to 7. And then you can take doesn't have to be exact, but just somewhere around there. And I'm just going to kind of go like that. And put a stitch marker through there. Just like that. Now, there we go. And then we can start sewing up the sides. I'm going to sew it together with a yarn and a yarn needle. That's generally my preferred method of sewing, but you know what? You can sew it however you want. But that's what I'm going to do here. I always say that whatever your preferred method is of sewing things up, seams and whatnot, you use that. Hey, I think as long as it gets sewn together, it doesn't matter how it gets sewn, as long as it ain't falling apart on you while you're wearing it. So what we want to do again while we're sewing it is making sure that we're keeping our shells lined up, or double V stitches. I'm sorry, I keep calling them shells. That's the best way to keep it even. It's just to make sure that you're keeping when you're going down the line, that your shells or the V stitches are hitting each other. You know, you're sewing through them at the same time. So I'm starting off with yarn needle, and I'm going to just go through, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to go through, sorry about this dark yarn here. There's, this is normally the way I do it. I'm going to go through the front loop only on this side, and on this piece over here, I'm going to go through the back loop only, like that. And then I'm going to tie a little knot down here so it doesn't slip away from me. And then I'll hide, whenever we clean up at the bottom, I'll just sew that right in, and no one will even know it was even there. All right, so I'm going to do like the back and forth method. I'm not going to go over and over, but you know, however you do it. So I'm going to go into the next stitch on this side over here. All right, so I'm going to go into the next stitch, but I'm only going to go into the loop that's furthest away from me. So the stitch has 2 loops. See that? But I want to go into just the one loop that's furthest away from me. So 1 loop there. And on this next panel, I'm going to go into the corresponding same stitch, but on this panel. And I'm going to go through the loop that is closest to me. 1 loop, but just the one that's closest. Pull that through. Like that. And this is what I'm going to do all the way down, making sure my shells stay lined up. So again, I'm going to go through the loop that's closest to me on this panel. And then over here, the loop that's furthest away from me on this one. That. And I'm coming up here again, the one that's furthest away on this panel and closest to me on this one. Like that. And I'm going to do this all the way down. Move to the next stitch, to the loop on this piece that's closest to me, and to the one that's furthest away on this one. Just like that. And remember, you choose, you can sew it any way as long as it gets sewn up. It all works. Okay. And just remember as you're going to make sure that, like I said, this is the best way how I keep track. I just kind of put my fingers in here, and there are my shells, and I want to make sure when I hit that sewing spot that those shells are being sewn right there in the same spot, and then I'll move down. That way, when you flip your work inside or right side out, that the shells are, lined up with each other like they're supposed to be. Okay, so I'm going to continue all the way down. So my piece up until I get to my stitch marker. All right, when I get to my stitch marker, I'm going to not go into the stitch with the stitch marker. I'm going to tie off right before it. So I'll see you when I get up there. All right, so I got my panel sewed up to my stitch marker here. Take that out now. And remember, you want to do both panels the same and try to keep the same amount of shells in between your armholes that you do on this side that you do on your other panel. Okay, I'm going to flip this one right side out now. Okay. So this is flipped right side out. And let's go ahead and lay it out here and look at what we're going to do next. So remember, the right side's facing this, and I'm going to go ahead and get my other one that I have here. And I have it, is it right side out? It's hard to tell. I think it's right side out. No, it's not. It's wrong side. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me flip it. Right side out. Okay, now we can do it. Okay, so I'm gonna sew up the back. So right now it doesn't matter which is the front or back, you know. So remember, I'm gonna make this is going to be the back right here, and our right side is facing us, and I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to take the top piece of this one and the top piece of this one and sew them up, not quite all the way, but most of the way. Let me start working up, but I'm gonna sew it out. Actually, I'm gonna sew it a bit different than I sewed than I sewed up the sides. All right, so since the front side is facing us, the good front side of our work. Now you don't have to sew it the same way as me. You can sew it any way you want, but I'm gonna try to do it as neatly as possible. So I'm gonna go through the loop that's furthest away on this side, and on this piece, a loop that's closest to me. Now it's the same way we did it earlier, but we're not gonna flip it inside out or anything. So, and then I'm going to go through again the loop that's closest to me on this piece, and on the matching stitch over here, the loop that's furthest away. Feel free to sew it up any way you'd like. You know, it's completely up to you. And remember to keep these shells lined up, because this is going to be visible, you know. So you want to keep all your stitches lined up the best that you can anyways. Alrighty. So I'm going to do this, like I said, not all the way up, but I'm going to continue till I get near the top, and then I'm going to stop, and I'll turn the camera back on, and we'll tell you about how far up I went. Getting the right stitches is always hard for me. Making sure they line up okay. Don't want no crooked shells. There we go. Alright, I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so I sewed up the back here. I think it's really cool. I went all the way to the top, except for I left about, let's see, about 1.5 inches from the top, and that's where I went ahead and tied off my seam and hid my tail. I really think it looks cool how they go here when you open it up. You'll be able to see it. I like how the shells go in different directions. It's cool. I like it. Well, I think it's neat. I think the seam looks really cool too. Kind of adds something to it, I guess. Alright, now what do we want to do next? So let's go ahead and turn it around to the front. And I think I'm going to go around it in the front now. We got our work facing right side up still. The right side's facing us. And I think that I'm going to put some rows. I'm going to start down here on this side. And we already put single crochets across here before, so I think I'm going to go do some rows of single crochet here, and then when I get up here to the split of the neck, I'm just going to go around that with single crochet as well, and then all the way back down to this side of the panel, and then I'm just going to do chain 1 and single crochet again. I think I might do that for a few rows. So go ahead and get started here. Remember, you want the right side of the work facing. I don't know about you, but I really have a hard time seeing which is the right side, but I'm guessing it's just this one. All right, we'll go with it. If you can't tell, then I guess it has to be this one. So I'm just going to start down here in the first single crochet, going through both loops of it. And I'm going to tie these on a little knot here again, because I will go around the whole piece at the end and with the finishing edge, and it'll hide any of these tails. So that's way too long. Oh, okay. Or you can carry it with you now if you want. My gosh, I don't know why that's so long. I apologize. Okay, now I'm going to. Actually, I'm just going to carry it with me and hide it now. All right, so we started there in that first single crochet. So I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to go back into it and single crochet. I'm going to hide those tails as I go. And then I'm going to put one single crochet in every stitch all the way up the top until we get up here to our single crochet all the way up. And then I'll meet back up with you here at this little piece neckline split, all right? And we'll go around that together. So just continuing across here with working one single crochet in every stitch. And I'll meet up with you at the neckline. All right, so I've made it up here to the top, to where this little bitty dip is on the back where our neck is here. So what we're going to do is single crochet up until you get to the stitch before the seam. So right here is the seam. Single crochet up to that one right before the seam. One more, sorry. All right, so now we're going to do a single crochet 3 together over the seam. So we're going to take the stitch before the seam, and then we're going to go into the seam and the stitch after the seam and single crochet them all together. So we're going to just go ahead and go into the stitch right before the seam and draw up a loop. And then we're going to go into the seam. So there should be this loop, and there should be another loop right on the back. Yep. And draw up a loop. And then the stitch directly after the seam. Right here. And draw up a loop. And you'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 4 of those loops like that. Pull that a little tight there. There you go. So we kind of just put them all together into one stitch. And now I'm going to continue putting one single crochet into every stitch all the way down the other side here. Just like this, until we make it down here to the end. I'll meet up with you right here. Alright, so I made it all the way to the end down here. So I'm just going to chain 1 and turn my work, and I'm going to do single crochets all the way back up again. So just going to go back into that very first stitch and single crochet, and I'm going to work one single crochet in every stitch all the way up this side and around that little back of the neck area. We're not going to do any decreases up there, so we're just going to go all the way up with single crochet up this side. And then when we get up here where we decreased earlier, we're not going to do anything there. We're just going to put one single crochet in every stitch from now on all the way down here on the other side. And I'll meet up with you when we get right down here to the end of the other side. All right, remember, nothing special up here anymore, just single crochet and each stitch. All right, so I made it all the way down here, and I haven't done anything yet. I just kind of, you know, I'm still down there, but I did turn my work. Now if you want to put buttons on it, this is where this row we're getting ready to do next. Back around again, we're going to put holes for our buttons. So you want to lay out, you can put your buttons wherever you want. That is entirely up to you. And you can put, or you can leave them off, it'll look good either way. But what you want, if you're making buttons, or you're using buttons, I'm just using the shells, or I keep calling them shells, the double crochet V-stitches as marking spots for where I want to put my buttons. So what I did is I went down a bit from my neck opening, went down, see that, about 9 inches, 9¼ or something will be where my first button goes. And then what I did after that is I have 5 buttons. Yours will depend on how long you made your top, you know. So this part you just kind of have to evenly space out however many buttons you want. I was able to leave 2 empty double V stitches, and then I'm going to place a button not on the V stitch, but you know, on this row up here in front of it. But I'm just using the V stitches as a marking point. And then I left 2 empty, and I'll put another one here where this V stitch is. And then I left 2 empty and put another. I left 2 empty and put another, and then I have 2 empty at the bottom. So whatever, this part will be completely up to you on how you do that. But I'm going to go ahead and mark off my spots where I want to leave a hole for these buttons. So you're going to need some stitch markers. So I decided that I'm going to leave 2 chains empty for the button that I have. So what I did was, I said I measured down about 9 inches. You can put them wherever you want, but I'm going to put the buttonhole row. I'm over here on this side now, so I'll be starting to work up this side. So this is where I'll be putting the holes, not on the other side, but on this side. So I'm going to take this out of this. So I'm putting it, so you see the double V stitch here, down here. I'm doing my best to kind of judge it out. And so there were 4 stitches, or 4 double crochets that made up the double V stitch. I'm putting, I'm going to skip the 2 stitches in the center. So, and then I think that will be good. I hope it's not too big. Guess I'll just have to try it. So I'm going to go ahead and mark off. I'm going to mark off the stitch. The stitch right before those 2 stitches. That way I know I need to go into this stitch and single crochet. And then I'll leave the next 2 empty. There we go. So I'm going to go down and do that with all of them. So on this one here, I know I'm skipping these 2, and always make sure your everything lines up correctly, all your double V's. Okay, so I'm skipping 2, and then I'm going to this one. So I'm just, I'm just eyeballing it kind of, and I'm trying to see that. I remember there were 4 double crochets, and then we used 4 singles. So I want to leave the 2 in the center empty. Do my best anyways. So I'm going to put a single crochet in the one right before the ones that I need to leave empty. That way I know I need to single crochet into this spot with the marker, and then the next 2 I'll have to leave empty. So I'm going to do this all the way down, get these marked off. Now you don't have to do it the way that I am. Of course, you make this all your own. You don't have to do anything like me. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes where they're at, isn't it? Let's see. I guess those two will do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mark off these holes here, and then we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how to make the holes. If you're putting buttons on it, you don't have to put buttons on it. That's up to you. It would look good either way. You can even sew the front up if you want. Whatever you want to do. Alright, let me do this, and then I'll meet back up with you, and we'll go across the front and make our buttonholes. Alright, so after we just finished that last row, you would have been on the inside. You just chain one and turn your work. And now I have, we're on the front, and I have everything laid out to where I want to put my buttons. Now remember, you put them anywhere you want. Alright, that's up to you. So what I'm going to do is single crochet up here to my first stitch marker. 1 single in every stitch until I get to that first stitch marker. I think it would look really pretty without buttons as well. So if you leave them off, that's fine. Okay, so I know that I have to go into the stitch and single crochet into the stitch that has the marker. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, then I can take that marker out. And now I'm going to do a chain of 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to skip 2 stitches, skip, and single crochet into the next one. And then I'm going to single crochet into every stitch up to my next marker. But before I do that, and you should do it as well, just if you're putting buttons on, just in case, make sure your button is not too big or too small for your button to go through. So I was kind of concerned it might be too big, but no, I think it's going to be just fine, because we're going to go back through it and on the next round and put single crochet through that hole, so it'll close it just a bit more, make it a little bit tighter. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. You just want to make sure that, like, if you're using different size buttons, that 2 stitches is enough. But if it's not, however many you chain, that's however many you skip for your buttonhole. So now I'm putting 1 single crochet in every stitch up till my next stitch marker, and here I am. So I know I need to go single crochet into the stitch with the marker, and I'm going to take that marker out. Now I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to skip the next 2, skip, and single into the next. And it's probably not going to be perfect, perfectly in the center, but it'll be fine. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue putting a single crochet into every stitch. Now if you're until I get to my marker, then I'll chain 2, skip 2, and continue. Now if you're not putting buttonholes, you can just go around again if you want, like this, with another row of a single crochet. Just don't put none of these holes in it for buttons. Alright, those are my markers. So I'm going to single crochet into the stitch with the marker, take it out, and I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, skip, and the single into the next, like that. Oh, skip, and single. Alright, so I'm going to continue doing that, and then when I make it here to my last, and I do my last buttonhole, what I'm going to do is just continue around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around the back here of the neck area, all the way down the other side. Now the other side won't have no holes, remember, because we'll sew the buttons on the other side if you're putting buttons. All the way down here, single crochets in every stitch, and I'll meet up with you whenever we make it down here. All right, so I made it all the way down. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And now I'm going to do single crochet all the way up again. But this time I'll meet you up here at the back of the neck part. And we're going to do another, one more decrease up here. All right, so 1 single crochet all the way up till we get to our back of the neck part. See you up there in 1 second. Alright, so I've made it up here. You can see this is the point, or the back of our neck, where it kind of dips down just a bit. So I'm going to do a single crochet 3 together. It doesn't have to be in the exact stitches, but try to get the stitch that's the deepest point of that dip. And then we'll single crochet the one next to it, the one that's the deepest, and the one after. Single crochet them all together. So we're going to go in to the one after your single crochet that looks like it's down the furthest, and draw up a loop, and then into the one that is the furthest down, draw up a loop, and then into the one next to it, and draw up a loop. Run over and go through all 4 loops on your hook like that. Alright, and then we're just going to continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until we make it to our first chain space of our first buttonhole over here on the other side. So we're going to be working along the other side. Whenever we make it to that first chain space we made for our buttons, that's where I'll meet back up with you, and I'll show you what we do at the chain spaces. Alright, so I made it to my first chain 2 space. And what we're going to just do is just put 2 single crochets. You can go through it and put 2 single crochets, or you could put 1 in each of the chain spaces. I think I'm just going to go through it. So there's 1, and another one. So there's 2 singles right there, and then you just continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until you make it to your next buttonhole, and then you do it the same way. 2 single crochets through the chain space, and continue this with this spanner all the way down until you get to the bottom of this panel. Alright, so I made it to the bottom. And now what we're going to do is chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to do 2 more rows excuse me, of single crochet all the way around the whole piece. So we won't be doing anything special at the neck anymore. The buttonhole rows are closed, or we finished them. So it's just 2. I'm going to go all the way around with a row of single crochet till I get back to my starting point, and it's okay if it's curling down here. We'll take care of that on our final finishing row. And then I'll chain 1 and turn, and I'll do 1 more row. So 2 more rows of single crochet all the way around, and when you make it back after your second row, you should be on the back side of your work whenever you make it back around. Alright, so 2 more rows, and I'll see you in a second. Alright, so I've done my those 2 rows of single crochet there, and I'm on, if you look, I ended on the back side of my work. So I'm just going to tie this off for now. Here, flip it. Okay. Alright, now we're going to go around the bottom. So let's get the right side of our work facing us here, but at the bottom. Okay, so I have the right side. Let me make sure I have the right side facing. Okay, I do. Great. So sorry about my dog. George. Alright, so I'm down here at the bottom, but remember we have the right side of our work facing us. I'm not going to do as many rows on the bottom as we did here on the sides. Now remember, if it's flipping, it's okay. We'll take care of that later. But we're going to go ahead and start our yarn at the bottom, right here in the last stitch here, the corner stitch here of our side panels. Okay, now this first row we're going to just kind of clean up the bottom edge here. So we just have to evenly space out some single crochet across the bottom. So I'm going to go back into that same stitch. I'm going to put one single crochet into it. And I'm going to evenly space out a single crochet in each of these stitches here across that side panel here that we made, like this. And then when we get to, oh man, all these chain spaces at the bottom, see what we can do about those. And when we make it to the chain space, I think we'll just go right through the space and put 3 single crochets through it. There's 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. And then we got, you could see up next, or we could put a single crochet there and a single crochet there. Remember, we're just cleaning up this bottom edge. There's 1 there, and then 1 there. And then we'll come up along a chain space again and just put 3 single crochets. We're just going right through the space. 1, 2, and 3. And then again we got those 2 little spots here, so we'll put 1 there and 1 there. Single crochet there, and then a single crochet there. And then we're at another space, so we'll put 3 into that chain space. 1, 2, 3, and then we're at these 2 stitches here, so we could put 1 here and 1 here. Well, this one's pretty easy. Sometimes trying to evenly space out stitches gets kind of hard. 3 into this space. 1, 2, 3, and then we have these 2 stitches here. Put 1 here and 1 here. All right, we're just going to go ahead and repeat this pattern. I like that. Let me make sure it's gonna lay okay. Yeah, I think that'd be just fine. All right, so we're going to continue. Whenever we hit a chain space, we put 3 single crochets in it, and then the 2 stitches in between the chain spaces there, you can put a single crochet into that one and 1 into that one. Now let's go ahead and repeat that until we get to the first seam, and that's where I'll meet back up with you at the seam, and I'll show you how to cross it, and then we will see what we can do, see if the back's different, how we can evenly space out our stitches back there. All right, so I'll meet up with you at the seam. All right, so I've made it to the seam, and I did my 3 single crochets here into the space right before it. So let's look what we got. So we can put a single crochet in this spot next to it, and then there should be one, yep, right there, right next to it again. Don't have to go in the exact spot. It's just, you know, evenly spaced out across the seam here. And then we are at the seam. Now, sometimes the seam will dip down a little bit more than if yours dips down. When you go into the seam, do a half double instead of a single. That's what I'm going to do, because mine's dipping down a bit. And then that'll level out that. There we go. Now we're going to be working across here, so we're going to evenly space out our single crochets. It doesn't appear to be too much of a spot to put them in, so just do your best to evenly space those out there. Okay, like that. Okay, that's looking okay. Now let's see what the back has to offer us. Let's see. So we got a stitch there, which I went into, and then a stitch here, right here. Let's go on that one. And then we got another chain space here. 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. And then again, we got a stitch here we can go into, and then a stitch right next to it that we can go into. And then 3 single crochets into the next chain space. So it looks very similar to what we just did. So we'll just repeat that pattern, I think. 3 single crochets in the chain spaces. 1, 2, and 3. And there'll be 2 stitches here that you can put 1 single crochet in each of those. So there's 1 there. This one's a little tight, but 1 there. And then we're at the chain space again, where we'll put 3 single crochets in that. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're just, let me see if it's gonna lay okay. Yeah, I think it's gonna do okay there. So we're gonna, this pattern's on the back is just kind of what we did on the side panel, and we'll just do the same thing across the seam here on the back. My seam's pretty straight, so I won't have to put a half double there, but I'll just evenly space out you know, across this seam here 3 or 4 single crochets, you know. And then on this other side panel it'll be the same, 3 single crochets in the chain spaces, and then you'll have 2 stitches in between that you can put 1 single crochet into each of them. 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. That's awesome. All right, and we're going to do that, and then across this seam here, and yeah, that's what we're going to do all the way till we get over here. This is the other side panel, just kind of evenly space out single crochets across that, and I'll meet back up with you right here at the end of this the side panel where we put all those single crochets. All right, so I made it across that first row on the bottom. Now what I'm going to do, so now you'll be able to see your single crochets pretty well. Now if it's looking a little bit like a bumpy and whatnot, wavy, you know, that's okay. It'll straighten up with the rows that we're going to do. So we're going to do 2 more rows of single crochet across the bottom. Well, I am. You can do as many as you like. So you'll be able to see your stitches well now. So since we did that first row, so I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work, and I'm going to go across now with single crochet 1 in every stitch. And like I said, you'll be able to see your stitches really well now since we did that first row of evenly spacing out our stitches. And I'm going to go all the way across the bottom back to the other side of the other panel, and then when I make it back there, I'm going to chain 1 and turn and do 1 more row of single crochet. So I'll have 3 rows total. So we did the first row, which was where we evenly spaced out our singles, and now we're doing our second row, and then I'll do 1 more row after that. And that's where I'll meet back up with you. And please remember, you can do as many rows as you like. It's your shirt that you're wearing. It's not mine. So you do it how you like it, okay? But I'm just going to do 3. And I'll see you after I've finished. So I'm on 2 now. I'll see you after I finish my third one. Remember, it's just 1 in every stitch. And then we'll have a finishing row. And then that goes around the whole piece. And then we'll do the sleeves. And then we'll be done. All right, so I've made it across the bottom here. Now this is the corner here of our front, one of our front panels here. This is where the buttonholes are. So down here, we're going to try to get this to lay flat if we can. So the stitch before the corner, so here's the corner stitch. The stitch before, let's put 2 single crochets into that stitch. There's 1. And there is 2. Now into the very corner stitch, let's put 1, 2, let's put 4 into this one. So there's 2, 3, and there's 4. And now we're going to be working up the side here. And then the spot after that stitch in the corner, so right here, let's put 2 single crochets into that spot. That'll help that corner be a little bit rounded out like that, I think. And now we can continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way up the side. I'm going to hide these tails as I go along so I don't have to sew them in later. I think that'll be okay. Might flip a bit, but it's okay. If you want to put some extra single crochets in there to try to get it to lay a little flatter, I think over time it's going to be just fine. But anyways, we're going to continue putting 1 single crochet into every stitch up this front side here. Remember, this is where the buttonholes are, and then all the way around the little dip at the neck area at the top, back around the other front panel, 1 single crochet in every stitch at the top. And I'll meet you down here, and we'll do the same thing in this corner that we did in the others. So I'll meet you at the stitch before the corner down here on the other side, okay? See you in a second. Alright, so I've made it all the way down to the corner down here at the bottom. So the stitch before the corner, put 2 single crochets like we did on the other side. And then in the corner stitch, we put 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll be working on the bottom now. And in the stitch after the corner, we put 2, 1, and 2. And now we're just going to continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch across the bottom until we make it back to our starting point. So that will be our finishing row. So we did our corner, so now we're on the bottom, 1 single crochet in every stitch across here until we make it all the way across right here to where we started. All right, so I got that all finished down there. I just ended with the slip stitch and down here and tied it off. All right, so let's work on the sleeve. So I have 1 sleeve done. I'll show it to you. As you can see, they go the opposite direction as the ones that's on the panel. So that's pretty cool. So this is how we're going to start our sleeves. So both sleeves are going to be made the exact same. And if there'll be 2 different sizes of sleeves. The smaller size sleeve will have 13 of these double crochet V-stitches or shell stitches. I don't know why I keep calling that. And the larger sizes will have 15. All right, and I'll show you how we're going to get that. So when you look at where you marked off, you can see, let's see, you want to pick up, when you marked off, you should have been near some shells, I guess. I'm going to start in this shell right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep my shells lined up on this first row. So see this shell right here that's within my arm area? I'm going to go into the stitch right above it, you know, so not right into the shell, but right above it. That's where I'm going to start my yarn. And we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to go back into the same spot and we're going to work the double crochet, or yeah, the double V-stitch. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets like that. Oh, sorry about that. Trying to hide my tail at the same time. It got hung up. All right. So we're doing the same pattern on the sleeves that we did down here for our piece. So now we're going to jump over to where the next double V-stitch is down here. And in the stitch right above that, right above it, we'll do a double crochet V-stitch. So 2 doubles, a chain 1, and 2 doubles. Again, we're going to jump over and find our next double crochet V-stitch down here, and then the stitch above it right here. It doesn't have to be exact, just kind of near it. Get it as close as possible, but double crochet V-stitch into that spot. And this is what we're going to do all the way around. We're just going to be putting a double crochet V-stitch in the same, right on top of the one below it, but not in the same spot, but the single crochet that's above it. See that? Just like that. Now let's continue this all the way around, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do when we get to the end. So all right, so I've made it around, and I have 13 of these double V-stitches because I marked off for 7 inches, and if you did a bigger size and marked off for 8 inches, you'll have 15 of these double V-stitches. And if you look right here, you'll have a few stitches to skip because we skip stitches in between these V-stitches, you see. So don't go into, I know there's a V-stitch that looks like that you can go into right here. If there's one there, if not, you know, just make sure that you have the correct number of V-stitches. 13 if you did the 7, and 15 if you did the 8 inches. What we're going to do now is just going to slip stitch into our first double crochet of our first V-stitch. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and start the repeat. It's repeat. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the chain 1 space here. So slip stitch 1 time and then 2 times, chain 1, and now we're going to go back into that space and we are going to do a double crochet. And then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then in between, like we did before, single crochet. So it's the same stitch pattern as below, like that. Chain 3 and double crochet into the chain 1 space of the next double V-stitch or shell, whatever I've been calling it. Then repeat that. We chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and in between the V-stitches we single crochet like that, and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and double crochet in the chain 1 space of the V-stitch, and repeat it. Chain 3 and single crochet right in between the V-stitches, chain 3, and double crochet in the chain 1 space of the next V-stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around until I make it over here near the beginning, and I'll show you how we end that and start the next row. Alright, so I'm coming near the end of row 2 of our sleeve. I just did a double crochet here, so I want to make sure I chain 3 and put a single crochet in between these last 2 V-stitches. And then I have to chain 3 again, 1, 2, 3, and end with the slip stitch here into our first double crochet, and that'll end row 2 like that. So we'll go ahead and start row 3 with chain 1, and we're going to go right back into this double crochet, and we're going to do the double V-stitch. So 2 doubles, chain 1, and 2 doubles. And this is row 3, and what we're going to do is just work a double V-stitch into each of the double crochets all the way around. So into the we just skip all this and jump over to the next double crochet and go right into it and work the double V-stitch. Like that. Jump over here to the next double crochet and double V-stitch. So that is row 3. It's a double V-stitch into every double crochet all the way around until you make it back to your starting point. All right, I'll see you there in a second. All right, so I'm coming to the end of row 3 of the sleeve. I just did a double V here. Now I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into the first double crochet of my first double V, and that will end row 3. And now that's the repeat rows, rows 2 and 3, and you repeat those for however big you want your sleeve to be. You want to end on a row 3 repeat, the V-stitch row repeat. But yes, you just again, now I'm just going to repeat row 2. So I'm going to slip stitch over here to the middle of the V-stitch, chain 1, and I'm going to double crochet back into that, and then chain 3 and a single crochet in between the next 2 V-stitches, chain 3, and a double crochet into the chain 1 space of the next V-stitch. So it's a repeat of row 2. So like I said, you just keep repeating rows 2 and 3 until you get to the desired length that you want your sleeve. Maybe you want like cap sleeves or shorter sleeves than mine, or a little bit longer than mine, whatever you'd like. You try it on however many rows that you'd like. You do that many and you can end on any row you want, but I ended on a row 3 repeat here, the V-stitch row. And I'm going to do a total of 9 rows, so 9 rows total. So I'm on row 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. So I'm going to repeat rows 2 and 3 until I get a total of 9 rows. But remember, you can do yours however long or short that you'd like. All right, so I have both the sleeves done. So if you have buttons and you want to sew them on, we can do that real quick. I'm actually going to use a yarn needle, and I'm going to match the yarn that I use for this. A smaller yarn. I got a smaller yarn needle that goes through my buttons actually this time. I found one. Okay, so we'll find our first buttonhole. I don't remember where it was. Okay, this is it, I think. So you want to make sure everything is lined up at the bottom. So the bottom is all lined up, like that. So, and you want to, excuse me, put this row on top of this row as best as possible. All right. So what I usually do is, once I get it lined up nice and straight, and this row is just right on top of this one, right on the edge of it there, or right together. All right, so I find my first buttonhole right here, kind of stick my finger through it, and then put my button right there, because that's where it's going to be sewn. So kind of right in the middle there. Take my yarn needle. You can use thread needles too, of course, and I want to go through the button. This type of button is the one that has the eyelet on the back. And then I'm going to tie a knot so it doesn't get away. That. And then I'm going to go through the button a few times, so it doesn't slip off. And then I'll just kind of weave in my tails like like you do with yarn. Just want to make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. But that's it. You just keep going down, matching it up, make sure you get it in line with the buttonhole that corresponds with it. Tight. All right, I think that one's probably good. Now I'm going to take the yarn that's left over on my hook here, and I'm just going to weave it in like you're hiding a tail. I'll probably do it like extra times though, and then I'll do this one too, weave it in, and that's how I'm going to sew these buttons on. But remember, you can sew them on any way that you want, however you sew on a button. You can do it how you do it. There's no right or wrong way, as long as it's sewn. Alright, so I'm going to get the rest of these sewn up. So after I get those hidden, what I'll do is set this here. Check it out here. See, here it goes through okay. Nice. I like that. So then you just line it up again, the bottom, and make sure everything is lined up correctly. This row is exactly on top of this row, and then the bottoms are even. Go down and find your next buttonhole, which I have no idea where it's at, right here. Do this with your finger, pull it up, and put that right where your finger is. I'm not going to do this, and then you just kind of line it up with this button here, like that. And that's it. Get them all sewed on. Alright. Alright, there it is. All finished. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Don't forget to hit that like button if you did. And you can come show me a picture on my Bag a Day Crochet Facebook page. I'd really like to see it. How you made yours, what yarn you used. If you used buttons, if you didn't use buttons. You know, all that jazz. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed. Please check out my other tutorials. I have a lot. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Alright, anything that you could ever want to make. I'll see you guys on my next one, okay? Take care.